And then 5 in that trilogy of the 4, 5, 6, it was very clearly 4 was the worst, 5 was in the middle, and 6 was redeeming. And so it makes it hard for me to judge when I haven't seen those movies in years since I did my franchise overview, really, which I did right before Jigsaw came out. I didn't review Jigsaw because it didn't feel like it belonged to. It's obviously a Saw movie. I don't know how to, but the tone, what I expected, the styles, if you will, it just didn't. It felt displaced even more than Final Chapter did. Like I would have originally said before Jigsaw came out that Final Chapter, Saw 3D, was very, too sheened, right?
Yeah.
And then Jigsaw came along and did it up even more. So as someone who hasn't seen Spiral, by the way, Mark, and I just got to re-enjoy seeing, I'm just going to call him Murtaugh in Saw 1. Like, it's funny that in like 1987, he was 41 years old and he was already saying he was too old for this shit in Lethal Weapon as a cop. And now we see him like 17 years later?
Oh, man. Yeah, and he gets set up by Hoffman.
He just won't retire.
Hoffman sets him up to go after Dr. Lawrence Gordon. He's really too old. And then Zepp knocks him out. Like, that's...
And he's a small man.
Yeah.
And Danny Glover, that's a tough man to knock out. That's a big dude.
And so during your rewatches of 1 and 2, how they hold up? Like, were they
very well?
Yeah.
I just appreciate these movies, I think, more and more, even though I'm less shocked, obviously, right? Because I've seen them so many times at this point, especially 1 and 2. I'm so much less shocked, but boy, they've got good intensity to them. They're so lovingly crafted.
Yeah,
that,
I agree.
When you
the
see
needle pit.
Oh my God! Oh jeez! Like that scene destroys me.
I know how you feel at needles. I should not bring that up.
When he throws her in there and her like death wail at it, like, oh Jesus! It's that was intense for me for other reasons, but I think it would be intense to anybody. Just pull it later, and then after she's done and she finds that needle in the haystack somehow, someone's pulling them out of her one by one. And you don't know that Amanda is with Jigsaw at the time. You just think this poor thing is being victimized a second time, and she's getting just the worst of it. But no, they hold up really well. Really, really well for me. And it was the first time that Jigsaw, of course, we'd eventually see it many, many times. We're just seeing this slow evolution of Jigsaw in the beginning, right? Where he's almost toying with his prey, as opposed to simply giving them a choice.
Yeah.
Because when he's talking to Detective Matthews, the rules are simple. You just sit and talk to me, and you'll find your son in a you'll find your son safe and secure after we sit and talk. Not like he says for a specific amount of time, but
Yeah.
So he says you forgot the rules. He keeps doing it, but he's obviously being deliberately vague. And then at the end, there's his son, and he's in that horrible bathroom that was our set piece for part 1. Presumably left for dead because you didn't know a Saw 3 was coming, or you kind of knew, but we didn't know. So that's where the first time we see him really toying with someone.
I think we'll go into this further when we do our whole franchise overview eventually, because we need to, because I have way too much in my brain now.
We've been threatening this for years.
What I like about
it's just such a big undertaking.
Well, it's gonna be, but it's worth it. I think when Spiral maybe comes out on Blu-ray, we could start something like that. But I think what 2 is interesting is they put the nerve gas, or the gas, into the contestants. And if you watch it, Laura dies from the nerve. She dies early from it, right? Amanda never thought that Xavier would just legitimately throw her into a needle pit.
Well, of course not.
And I love, too, when they're like, oh, you need the number on your neck. Like, we need to tell you. You need to keep us alive. He cuts it off.
That was brutal.
It was, and what I love, Xavier kills a couple people.
And Amanda watches in horror with Detective Matthews' son.
It's wonderful.
Horror as he does that.
Their plan fell apart. I know Jigsaw wanted to be cute, but one of the contestants dies. Addison is so addled on the gas that she doesn't even listen to the directions because she's so desperate, and the teamwork falls apart. It's another thing where he says, "I want you to appreciate your life. You've been framed. You have been." And then Addison actually comes back and hits on Jigsaw one time, but he's going after people that were framed by a cop, and he's stacking everything so far against them that his rules definitely fall apart for me. But I like that their plan did not go to plan. There were some major hiccups in Saw 2, and it makes it almost more human than a lot of horror movies would want their masterminds to be. And I thought that was quite interesting.
So something is just occurring to me because I have some scattered notes about these movies, and as we've been talking, I've been adding to my little alchemical scribbles. They look like doctor's scribbles or something, and I'm looking at it, and okay, bear with me here. Nightmare on Elm Street 1, outstanding film, yes, of course. Freddy's Revenge, incredibly different approach, bold approach for many reasons ahead of its time. Right? 3, 4, 5, trilogy within the anthology, right? 3, 4, 5, and then Freddy's Dead kind of goes kind of like off the tracks and just kind of drunk on its own success, and just like this is just a zany horror sequel, if you will. And then after that, well, of course, I'll just stop it right there because after that, it really transforms the way that these Freddy movies go, right? After Freddy's Dead. Saw 1, incredibly rich, character-driven movie, as we've probably mentioned many times on the podcast, not a fraction as brutal as people want to believe they recall it being. It was mostly the threat of it, right? It was very, very elegant for a psychologically brutal, gory movie, right? But psychologically brutal and gory, if you will, which is a weird phrasing.
There's much less blood than what you think.
Right, and much less on-screen happening. So that is our Nightmare on Elm Street 1. Saw 2, right? Totally different approach. It's a fun house.
Yeah.
It is a fun house of horrors. And then part 3, I honestly feel was powerfully influenced by the success of the Final Destination movies in terms of how they present the kills to you and how those kills went down. It felt like a Final Destination movie. Not so much a copycat, but just the style of staging things and the reveals. And then after that, 4, 5, and 6 is a wonderful trilogy within the anthology. And then 7 is the Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I would not say that Jigsaw is the Wes Craven's New Nightmare that takes it a new way in a really great way, right? But it's interesting that they're literally 3 completely different films, completely dissimilar films in the first 3 films. The next 3 films form a super rich trilogy, and then there's the drunk on the success, Saw 3D, for God's sakes, just the title, or the final chapter. Like, these are annoying titles.
Yeah. Yeah, and I keep calling it 3D because that's what it was, and then for some reason it became final chapter, right?
No, it depends on your purchase.
Oh,
you can purchase this product as Saw 3D as the title, or Saw 3D : the final chapter.
Got it.
So it really is like different things. Like, I don't even know. When the movie was released, it might have been released theatrically in the U.S. as Saw 3D, but my Blu-ray is Saw 3D : the final chapter.
That's why I love the Scream movies. Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4. So easy to
I don't know how to pronounce Scream 4 when you replace an A with a 4.
Yeah.
Swarm.
Squee4M.
Swarm.
That's great. Hey, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, I have a couple fun things for you. How's that sound?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And John, I want to do something fun. let's do this.
Do you want to play a game?
Oh, crap. I missed it. Do you want to play a game? Oh, wait. I speak for the dead. Oh. So, let's do something. Let's do our 3 favorite moments of the franchise. I can do all 3 while you think. And that'll give you time. Because I saw your face right there. If you're
because I've only seen 1 and 2 recently. This is brutal.
I have John on Skype, and I'm just gonna do it. And then I'm gonna do my 3 favorite characters to give you more time.
So stressed out.
My favorite moments in the franchise are Saw 5, when Strahm has a water box over his head that fills up. And he has a pen that he stabs into his neck and gives himself an emergency tracheotomy.
Tracheostomy. So whatever that is, yeah.
So he can breathe with a pen. It is the most gangster moment of the entire franchise, and I just love it. I think that moment when Strahm does that, it's just it's beautiful. My next one is when Jill Kramer puts Mark Hoffman into the reverse bear trap, and he rips his way out of the chair, sees these bars on a door, sticks his face in there, and like Hail Marys himself to life. I mean, that thing goes off and he gets stuck in the metal bars, and I love that. Didn't it still
like mildly dislocate his mandible?
Yeah, he gets ripped, and then he has to go saw it up.
Right.
It's just ingenuity. My third favorite is Britt in Saw 5, because in the first one she collects all the keys and she realizes they're the same keys. Then in the exploding tunnel scene, we realize that 2 people could have fit in each of those tunnels. It didn't have to be 1 person per tunnel. They just weren't thinking. But in that scene, she watches, I think her name's Luba, Megan Good hits the guy Charles in the back of the head, then he dies. Then when they get into the scene where they're supposed to electrocute themselves, Megan Good is trying to kill Malik, and Britt, remembering what she did to the other guy, is like, well, she might do this to me, kills her, and then electrocutes her to pass the test. And then her and the other guy give enough their blood, even though all 5 of them could have given up plenty of blood to survive. But I really liked her I liked watching Britt weigh everything in that. So she knew that Megan Good hit a guy, which led to his death. And then she was trying to kill another guy to do that. And she was like, well, if it's the 2 of us, I don't want to be with this person because she'll attack me. Like, I don't trust this. So I liked her decision on that. It showed some neat critical thinking for a 5th film in a franchise. So those are my 3. And then my 3 favorite characters.
Oh, gosh.
Simone from Saw 6 and Saw the Final Chapter. She hacks off her arm. She beats her coworker. Her coworker's killed. And then Hoffman goes, did you learn anything? Yeah, I learned to cut my arm off. And then in the survivors room, the survivors counseling course or whatever, Survivors Anonymous, she's just yelling, oh, come on. Like, so this lady had to kick her boyfriend into lawnmower blades. And she's like, oh, I feel like I'm a better person now. And here's Simone, who hacked off her arm. I was like, shut up, y'all. I didn't learn crap. All I know is I can park in a handicapped spot now. Like, I love that she just calls Jigsaw out for his crap. I guess I've already said her name, but I like Britt from Saw 5. And then I guess if I had to pick somebody else, it's probably Dr. Lawrence Gordon, just because he's the only one, apprentice, who plays the game perfectly. And I like that about him. He's the survivor. So those are my 3 favorite moments and my 3 favorite characters.
Can I do the 3 favorite characters?
You don't have to. I just did that to give you time.
That'd be too tough for me, I think. It's been too long since I've seen a lot of them. But I think, even though it's been a while since I've seen 4, well, actually even 3 through 7, I feel like most of my impact in 4 to 6 was storyline, although I'm going to pick a scene from that. 7, I might like a kill scene here or there, but it's not the impact isn't there because my investment isn't there. So my number 3, and I have them ranked. My number 3 is, I don't remember, Art. In the beginning scene, Art, is that 4 or 5?
That is 4.
4, okay. After Art survives, because his lips were stitched shut, he even after he has survived, and he knew he couldn't yell he was trying not to, he was mumbling. Obviously, a lot of concentration went into not tearing himself up, but when he got out, he was so psychologically destroyed